Welcome to Feel, Heal, Rise, Stories After Silence, where we give a voice to the unheard, speak the unspoken, and remind you that you're not alone, and what happens to you will never define you. My name is Erica Blake, and this is a podcast where I read real anonymous stories of healing, survival, and abuse. I'm going to give a trigger warning for this episode. This submission contains emotional, sexual, financial, domestic, and narcissistic abuse, as well as psychological manipulation. If you're not in a place to hear this right now, please take care of yourself and feel free to come back later. Having said that, let's begin. Someone on social media who love bombed me. For anyone who doesn't know, I've brought up the definition of a love bomb, which means to shower someone with attention or affection, especially to influence or manipulate them. Alright, it seemed amazing at first. The relationship was good, but over time, they started to use things against me, like my disability, previous trauma, and my struggle with addiction. They would say incredibly hurtful things, even encouraging me to self-delete. But then they would flip around and love on me again. They started isolating me from my family and my friends. They found a house that was accessible for my wheelchair and invited me over to visit. This visit never really ended because they always found reasons that they wanted me or needed me to stay. They even got me animals to take care of that would suddenly, mysteriously disappear. I believe that getting me the animals and taking them away was a way they used to control me. They shut me away from my parents and even the medical care that I really needed. They wanted to be the center of my world. And honestly, over time, I became dependent on them. They did this so that they could have absolute control over me. They started gaslighting me, which triggered a mental illness of mine. Then they started stealing my money, leaving me with almost nothing. The lack of money made it so hard that I did the only thing I could think of. I had to sell nudes and sexual content online in order to make money, only to have that be taken away from me as well. The last time I left, they proceeded to corner me in the bathroom and started spitting on me. But I managed to leave with the help of a friend. This experience caused me to have anger and numbness. I actually ended up going to rehab for my addiction to substances. In therapy, I started uncovering the reasons for my addictive behavior. I started going through my traumas, and it helped me understand why I was so vulnerable to that type of abuse. It helped me get distance from the situation. It took time to work and to be able to break the hold that this person had on me, but I was eventually able to cut ties altogether. Right now, I'm healing, still rebuilding, and finding a way to start chasing my passions again. If anyone else is in a similar situation, I want to tell you, you're loved, you're valuable. You do not listen to anybody who says differently. Abuse can take many forms. And just because another person isn't seeing it doesn't mean you're not suffering. You can leave, you can heal, and you're not broken. I want to say that a lot of people think once we leave a situation, it's like cut and dry, we're done, we're out. But it's often not as easy. All of the manipulation over time makes us want to run back to the person. And I myself have struggled with that as well. It's not as easy to just straight up cut ties as we think it is sometimes. Listening to this story, it's easy to focus on the choices that this survivor had to make to stay alive. But I hope that we pause long enough to make another question. What happened that made those choices feel like the only option? I also want to touch on something really quick. I 100% believe in body autonomy and empowerment. If an adult chooses to create content or express themselves with their body, that's completely their choice. And I support people having the freedom to make those decisions with their own bodies. But that's exactly my point. It should be their decision. It shouldn't feel like an only option. No one should be forced into feeling like they should do something that they normally wouldn't choose because they're being controlled, abused, or trying to simply survive. The tragedy isn't what the survivor had to do. It's the fact that this survivor had their choice taken away from them. Real empowerment is not about what somebody chooses to do with their body. It's about having the option to choose in the first place. Abuse isn't just physical violence. It's manipulation, financial control, humiliation, intimidation, and slowly taking away somebody's ability to make their own decisions. When someone controls your reality, your money, and your sense of worth, leaving can feel impossible. I also want to say survival is not shameful. Survival so much power. Many survivors do things that they never thought that they would do, simply to make it through another day. Those decisions should never be used to judge that person's character. They should make us ask, why was that person put in a place where they felt like they had to do that in the first place? How did that happen? Who did that? What did they do? And to the survivor who shared this story, I really want to say thank you for trusting me with something so deep and so personal. I'm incredibly grateful that you had a friend that was able to help you. Sometimes one person believing you is all it takes to make the biggest difference. If you're listening and you recognize yourself in this story, I want you to know abuse often makes people think they're trapped forever. Trapped is not the same as hopeless. There are people who will believe you. There are resources that can help, and there is a future where you do not have to live in survival mode. Your past may explain your scars, but it does not define your future. All right, let's take a breath together. We're gonna go in and out. Okay. Take care of yourself this week. Be gentle on yourself. Healing does not happen overnight, but every step you take towards healing and towards safety truly matters. If you'd like to share your own story, you could submit it through the link in my bio or the show notes. We'll talk again soon. Thank you for listening to Heal, Feel, Rise, Stories After Silence. And remember, you're not alone, and what happens to you will never define you. Until next time!